Okay. Now, um, anyway, going back into this again, here we have the ninth dimension, which is the superposition of the second and the fifth dimensions, and then you have the seventh. So I made both of those. Now, if you look here, the superposition here is at the bottom. It's three-dimensional space, and then we have another superposition at the top for the time. The chart will be balanced by putting the third superposition in the center. And here you have the first position, the first dimension top, with its opposing at the bottom, and then with going up there. And then here you have these two together. So you have these two apart up here, and then you have these two together down here. So the chart is balanced, and then you have the two superpositions with the other superposition in the center. So it's a balanced chart. The entire chart is balanced. Figuring out the eighth dimension took me 2 days. I had to figure out what the superposition was between the seventh and the ninth dimension. Well, you have space-time compression, and here you have space-time decompression. Well, here in the eighth dimension, you would have both space-time compression and decompression. You have decompression coming out the bottom, then compression going back into the top, then going in again. And by the way, this is a multi-channel temporal magnetosphere. I didn't go into that, but this actually, that is an 8 loop that switches and shifts every time it loops. So that's why you have multiple cells in a magnetic field, because it's shifting every time it goes back in. So it's acting like a temporal sphere, but it's also shifting. So it's operating, it's doing a superposition, or what I'm also called a hyperposition, because this superposition is made up of other superpositions. So this could also be called the hyperposition. Now it would shift for every single turn. So it would shift every single time until it ended right back where it started. The superposition here puts the ninth dimension flat, like a ring. Anything that comes out would come out on that line, on the 2, and it would come out in the center and be pushed outward. Anything going in would come at the top and go down in there. Now, the eighth dimension is funny because it can come in multiple configurations. I haven't gotten into fabric objects yet, which I haven't talked about, and I will. But I wanted to show you something else that's interesting. I told you earlier that this chart is like the Encyclopedia Britannica. It can tell you volumes of information. Now we see that we have the superpositions coming down here, the first position, second position, and then we have the three-dimensional space. And we say, everybody says, oh, we live in three-dimensional space, but according to this chart, it's much more than that. Because take a look at this. If we look at this chart going across, we have the latitude thread, temporal sphere, and a space-time vortex going in. What happens if you put all three of these together? Well, you would get a planet with an axis and a gravitational pull. See? So we live here. This is our universe up here. Now let that sink in for a while. If this is where we live, then what is this and this? And that's where this theory gets very interesting.